Right, this is a kind of part two, all right, to Scottish schools, like yesterday's, yeah? All that's new and approved. That's all, folks. All that's new and approved from the Just News Arse. More on Scottish schools. It just gets worse. Okay, so here we go. This is from the 1st of November, so it's been a few days. We've got an article that appeared again in the Dubris. Subscribe, by the way. Become a warrior teacher. Stay in my ear today. Subscribe, by the way. Become a warrior teacher. Do the usual. What we've got here is a article from, I think it's the Scotland Express or something. I'll find it in a minute. Anyway, we've got a mum. All right, I've got a mum who is a teacher with a background in child safeguarding. Has raised concern over the safety of children and the damage the current policy will have on the youth of the nation. You remember in my last video yesterday, whenever it was, time just goes on by, right? That I spoke about this stuff when we had that LARPing counsellor open his gob. Do you remember? Anyway, so if you do, this is kind of a continuation of that, except this time we're hearing from a mum. And I thought we need to do both. Let's get both sides of the fence, shall we? So, here we go. The SNP's government's trans policy is turning young people into Chairman Mao's young army. You're bloody right. Yep, it's Chairman Mao. Inform on the parents, struggle sessions. Those in the know will know what I'm talking about. The furious parent, bit of hyperbole, but I imagine the parent is furious. We don't mind a bit of hyperbole. Has obviously had to remain anonymous because she's frightened of losing her job, and who wouldn't be? We know what that's like, some of us. She's from a safeguarding background. They get it, see? They get it. Because they're from a safeguarding background, that's why they get it. They understand it perfectly. So what happened was, a primary school, this is a primary school, mind you. We're talking nippers, right? We ankle biters, as Mrs. Doubtfire would call them. Oh no. Right, so that's what we got there. Ankle biters, right? Ankle biters. It's a primary school. In South Lanarkshire, have emailed parents to inform them it's hosting a gender awareness training parent workshop. What's the school doing training parents on gender? Why is the school... Right, so imagine that the school, like I said in my last video, right, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be training you in the satanic. Come and meet the Church of Satan, right? That's, and today we're running a parent workshop on how to drink the Kool-Aid before the spaceship takes you away. Or even if we went for we're going to do a gay awareness training day. Grab your ankles. It's just nonsense, isn't it? Not all gay men are fey, just some of us. Right, okay. It's to explore in this particular the space. Space. They always talk about space. Space. That's because it doesn't exist in reality. You have to have this kind of created language. It's called created space. To explore key gender concepts and discover unconscious bias. Right? You're a bigot if you don't agree with the beliefs of the Gender Identity Church. That's what that says. You're a bigot if you don't agree with the Gender Identity Church, right? Space to explore key gender concepts and discover unconscious bias. It's always there in it. Unconscious bias, trigger warning, safe spaces. This is the inculcation of the critical social justice cult in action, using one of their particular teats of the other, to which I've now added, by the way, critical social environmentalism, because they're equally mad. We're going to do more on them later in the week. Great, nutters. Right, okay. Space to explore key gender concepts and discover unconscious bias. Right? You're a bigot if you don't agree with gender. That's been debunked. Did you know that? Unconscious bias has been debunked. I'll put the doofer in the Dubris. I'll put the thing in the link in the Dubris to the debunking that was done by the government. It gave it a right rogering, and rightly so. Unconscious bias is nonsense. It's chasing ghosts. They are saying they are not indoctrinating, which is exactly what they're doing, of course, the trans policy into schools, but this is proof they are. She works in a school, this brave mum works in a school. My own daughter has friends, and there are a cluster of girls that are identifying as trans. What a surprise. It's always clusters with girls, you know that, don't you? We've got this history of this. Laughing groups, and there was awful one with suicides. It's really serious. This clustering, like bulimia and anorexia, self-harm, clustering exists, and girls are far more likely to take part in it than males. You bet it's a cluster. That's what's happening. And they're going, no, it's great. You're transgender, fantastic. We'll affirm you. You're no longer Bob. You're now Brenda. You want some sweeties? Here, have these. They'll make everything better. She says, the school are immediately affirming their identities when we already know, as I said in my last video, that Cass states that social transit is not a neutral act. It is iatrogenic. Iatrogenic means that the perceived cure is causing the problem. That's exactly what it is, iatrogenic. We've got boys changing in the changing room with girls and vice versa. Yeah, because that's not going to go wrong, is it? Really? It's being pushed into schools, and now they are targeting primary schools as well. To be blunt, the Scottish government targeting children to justify men with a sexual fetish. If they can say children are developing as transgender, then they can justify men claiming the same. Forced teaming, right? We know this is all built on sound. They are targeting the young people. Now, there was a marvellous Scottish SNP, MSP, called Ash Regan. And Ash resigned from the Scottish Government over the gender recognition bill. I'd like to see more of this so that we can get this nonsense stopped. Well done, Ash. You know, that's courage. Courage calls to courage. That's courage. Well done, Ash. They're also allowing girls and boys to access single-sex facilities like toilets. Girls won't go. That's what'll happen. There's boys in the toilet. They won't go. Stop this. There is no impact assessment undertaken to the knowledge of this mum. And now they are targeting the parents to make sure parents are on board with this too. It's as if all dissent has to be quelled. What, you're surprised that these Maoist nutters want all dissent quelled? Why are you surprised by that, mum? Why? That's exactly what they're about. That's exactly what this is about. The younger they are, the more malleable they are to the cult. You bet. That's what they're after, isn't it? Got to get them young. Get them before they're 7. That's the theory. Once you get them before they're 7, then it's very hard to get them out of it. And again, she talks about child safeguarding, which she obviously knows quite a bit about, and calls all this a sacred caste beyond criticism, which of course is what it is. The new Gender Recognition Act will make it much easier for people to legally change gender in Scotland. The age limit will be lowered from 18 to 16, and people will no longer require a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria. When they originally debated the Gender Recognition Act in 2004, which incidentally needs to go, when they originally debated it, it was designed so that, same-sex marriage wasn't brought in through the back door. So it's homophobia that made them do it, right? Weird, isn't it? There were a lot of people who had gone through this process, who said that they wanted the medical gatekeeping kept, and they wanted the medical gatekeeping kept because they knew what was outside the gate. The LARPing men. Yeah, titty wankers. They knew that they were sitting outside the front of the door waiting to get in. That's what Scotland's done. Here you are, open the door, and let them in. This individual, this mum, then adds that this Chairman Mao's young army would mean that you couldn't stop men from stripping in female change room. We know all this, right? Okay, this is exactly what's happening. She's correct. And she says the moment they claim a special identity, they are protected. And again, she's absolutely right about that as well. She then goes on to talk about the psychological damage. We are psychologically damaging many people. I don't care if you're in primary school, secondary school, or wherever you inhabit, or even an adult. This is creating trauma in people, which is most damaging for your intellectual faculties because you are desirous of believing nonsense that's only been around 5 minutes. And the Scottish government said, these claims are totally untrue. Maoism, totally untrue. It's just, it's the same as that thing with the truth doesn't matter. The Supporting Transgender Young People in Scotland's guidance outlines how schools in Scotland can support transgender young people while ensuring the rights of all pupils are fully respected. The Scottish Government is absolutely intent upon inculcating a child-mutilating, anti-human, anti-life, anti-reality religion, cult. It's not a religion. I've been around long enough. Cult, right? At the heart of Scotland's schools and Scottish society, And they're going to start, as this mum has so wisely informed us, with the primary school kids. You know, right, share the hell out of this. Parents need to see this. All right, and they need to understand it. I'll put the links in the doobras. Come and be a warrior teacher. The team's growing. Ah, so exciting. I think I've probably started with my new teams. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to meeting them all, and they're wonderful people. So we'll be all right. We'll be doing one for gay men. That's my next thing, is to try and get a cohort of gay men. So if you're a gay man, say so. And Australia, New Zealand, different time zones. We'll try and put one of them together. So I'll be putting some stuff up about that later in the week, just so that people can understand what's going on. Okay, listen, thank you very much for listening to this. I think it's really important that parents get this. So if you've got the chance to get it to a parent, please do. Subscribe and share this on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the social media is you're on. Other than that, we'll just say goodbye for now, and more to come in the coming days. Just right.